All right, it's time for the counterattack, folks. You're gonna love this. Just quickly before I start, I want to thank Brian for what he just said. Much of it I agree with. So I'm not in here to sort of counter completely what he said and say something completely different, because a lot of it I agree with. We can get into those details as we go through sort of my wrap up of what I think's happened this window and where I'm at. And I understand, to start off, why people are unhappy, because I do think we've been left a bit short. Having said that, I do think that the window is better than what we are giving it credit for. I think the manager currently has said, specifically in today's interview, in his press conference, that he's comfortable with where we are, and that he recognizes as well as that there's some things that he wanted to go over the line that he didn't, or that we didn't. And so recognizing certain positions, especially that left wing back position, that's probably, and arguably that left-sided center half problem is still there. We have players that can play there, but are they at the level that they need to be? That's where the problem is. We need the depth that is solid depth, which we've addressed in other positions. Which, let's just talk about that a little bit first. The outs are obvious. Dagul talked about the outs, and I think that has to be given more credit than it's currently being given in this window, because the amount of players that have sat on our bench collecting a shit ton of money that we all agree, and I think this is where, no matter what side of the fence you are, which what Brian was talking about, whether you're Levy in, Levy out, or whether you're a happy clapper, all those different things, we've had these players sitting there collecting wages, whether it's sitting on our bench or somebody else's bench on loan where we're still paying them ridiculous amounts of money. We've addressed that. It's probably the best we ever have. And I think that's partially due to the new team that's come in December of last year that have addressed dealing with that situation. Now, it's not perfect. I recognize there's still a couple of players. I don't think Reguilón's gone anywhere, so maybe he addresses that left back issue that we have. But most of it's been dealt with. The Undembeles of the world are no longer at the club. Lo Celso's just gone today. Most of the deadwood, or what we would consider deadwood, or players that we just didn't think were good enough, are gone. So credit is due there, and I think much credit should be given to that. Now let's talk about the players coming in. We've got, obviously the Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall. We bought him last year, yes, but he's come in this window, or come in this beginning of this season, addressed depth in the midfield, very good quality in the midfield. Yes, they're young, but Archie Gray played 40-plus games last season in the championship at right back. So he's defensively minded. He can play multiple positions. He's really good for depth. That's the kind of player we want. Lucas Bergvall obviously is shown in preseason. I think there's a bit more to go to determine if he's yet necessarily ready, but he looks like a player, and like a player that's going to be with us for a long time, and very, very good. Now let's talk about the two that have actually gotten into the starting 11. Solanke, I'm with Brian. Initially, I was not 100% pleased with Solanke coming in. Yes, he had a good season last year, 19 goals, really, really solid for a player at the club he was at. But is that what we need? And then, of course, like Brian, I over time did a bunch of reading, watched a bunch of YouTube videos, sort of determined that actually he fits quite well into Ange's system, and I can see why Ange likes him. Now, he has to produce, right? Like every other striker that we've brought in, obviously you can't include Kane in that because he came through our academy, but every other striker we've had come in from other clubs or other leagues has come in and failed miserably for the most part. Strikers. I mean, you've got your Sonnies and your forwards who've succeeded, but striker-wise, we've struggled pretty hard with this position, and we've got lucky with one of our own in Harry Kane, who finally had enough. But I feel like Solanke, in the one game he's played, and of course, yes, we have massive issues with whatever's happening injury-wise, whether it's a fluke seemingly or whether there's something to it. Solanke looks like the right player for the system that we're playing. When he's fit, we're going to see over the course of a few games that he comes good, and I think, like Brian does, that he will come good. I think he's going to be a very good player for Tottenham this season. Fantastic. Odegaard, nobody saw him coming. Really pretty good at a Burnley side last season. I think we all wanted a dribbly winger. He's a dribbly winger. Is he the dribbly winger we want? Is he the level we want? Maybe not. We don't know yet. We need to give it a bit of time. Ange also wanted that player. So the two players Ange wanted, or two of the players Ange wanted, we've gotten in. So from my perspective, whether you like it or not, Ange has been backed. He was asked again in the interview this morning, have you been backed? He said, yes, I've been backed. Some of the players that he wanted to get, we weren't able to get to for whatever reasons. And of course, everybody's going to blame Levy for it. And arguably some of that is true. I'm sure that some of the cost was some of the problem. So not an issue there. I have no issue with that. What I see currently with a fully fit squad is a better team, a bit of a better 11, which is again where I agree with Brian. The 11 should be better than it was, much better than it was last season, and I don't know that we've necessarily improved it. But also our best 11 weren't fit for a lot of last season. So that first 10 games when we were fit, we looked pretty damn good. So there's a lot of positives in that. The positions that we need to address, we talked about a 6. Arguably, Bissouma is that 6 if he comes good, or if he can get his head out of his ass and stop acting like a child. Then we have a very good player in that position, and we've got depth in that position, which we just talked about. When it comes to the left, this is the position, of course, I think everybody would agree with, wherever you stand, is the left, a backup for a Udogie and a backup for Van de Ven on that left side. We saw what happened when we were without Van de Ven. Very difficult to find a backup for him, by the way, because Van de Ven is Van de Ven. He's 1 in a million, and we're not going to find another one like him. But we do need somebody who can fill in that left side with a left foot. Completely agreed there. Overall, it's not the window we wanted, but I just want to talk about Ange specifically and where he sees the team right now. Arguably, it could be wrong, like, about what he's saying, because sometimes in the background they say things because it's PR. Like you're dealing with what you're supposed to say in front of a bunch of journos, and you got to say what you're supposed to say. But I think Ange is happy-ish with the window. He specifically said, I know we need more, but I didn't want to bring in players that I didn't think either fit the system or necessarily fit mentally or mentality-wise what I want. So I'm going to stick with what the manager's saying here. I feel like that's all I can do, honestly can do, and still enjoy my watching my football club play football, is that Ange is comfortable, not completely happy, but comfortable with where we are and what we're going to do this season. Or at least try to achieve this season, hopefully. And that is, we've improved the squad massively. The bench looks much better than it has in a long time, and I think that's really important for a team that's going to compete on a number of different levels. So I'm not as completely unhappy as everybody else. I think maybe I think Bryce said before we started recording this he was about a 5. I'm about a 7. It's not much difference. I think I'm, again, I'm a little bit more of the sort of the happy clapperish kind of, if you're going to label somebody. I like to enjoy my football. I like to enjoy the game, the tactics and the other things about football. And I don't allow that stuff to get to me, but I get why it gets to people. So don't get me wrong. I am, just to so you know, folks, I am Levy out. I don't like him either. I feel like the ownership of this club has struggled to push on when we need to. I don't know that this is one of those times, and I think that call me naive if you like. I don't think that this is one of those times where he's stopped us from pushing on. I think that the system that we're attempting to develop for a long-term team to compete at the highest level consistently, over time is what's being built right now, and that's what Ange has said. He's like, I don't want to necessarily win one trophy. I want to be in contention for trophies consistently all the time. What you do to do that is you invest in youth, you invest in good quality players who can play a lot of different positions, and you make sure that your bench is strong so that when you do go to these other games, you have a squad that can handle it. We're much better because of this window than we were previous to it in that case. So that for me is the reason I'm probably 2 points higher than Bry. But again, I agree with a lot of you that I think that we could have done better. There's some players that we definitely could have brought in. We could have brought in some, I think experience is a lot of what a lot of us want. So yeah, for me, not awful, but not necessarily is exactly what we all wanted, but I'm still relatively happy with it. And I'm excited for the season. So support the players that we have, support the club as they are, because that's what we have. Window's done, it's shut. Whinge all you want online, go to Twitter and tell everybody how they're idiots and that you don't support the club the way I do, so I'm not going to listen to you. You're not allowed to have your own opinion. Don't do that. Brian's 100% correct on that. Let's come together as a fan base and try to understand differences of opinion and understand how to understand what the club's doing, and hopefully try to make our experiences better moving forward. Brian, do you want to pop in just before we